Yes, people, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another live stream. And it was more dropped points for Chelsea yesterday as it finished 1-1 at the London Stadium against West Ham. It's now 2 wins in our last 13 league games, which, whatever way you want to look at it, is terrible. It's kind of relegation form, I suppose. But we are unbeaten in the last 4. It's only 1 conceded in the last 4 games. Yes, there's 3 draws in there. But I felt yesterday there was some positive signs, some such signs of progress, albeit small progress. And, we need more. But Enzo Fernandez, again, was fantastic. João Felix, back from suspension, a massive lift to the team. He was one of the best players on the pitch. And there were some positives there. Obviously, the same old situation where as soon as we have a difficult moment go against us, we kind of retreat into our shells and things, and we just don't seem to pick it up. But I think it's unfair to expect like 7 new signings come in and then to demand or expect instant results when you've basically got pretty much half a new team out on the pitch. It's going to take time. It doesn't matter who's in the dugout. There's going to be some bad results. So I think there are some positives, but for me, the next game's coming up. This is a massive week. Dortmund Champions League and then Southampton at home at the weekend. And this is a big week. I'm a big Potter supporter, but if we don't start getting results this week and in the upcoming games, I can't just show blind backing when there's kind of no signs of any progress at all. There has to be some sign of progress. I'm not asking us to win every single game, but I'm asking us to put a few wins on the board, show a style of play, show that there's a bit of character in this team when it going gets tough. We can dig in and get on with it. So yeah, I still fully support the project, support the manager, but I'm fully aware that actually we do need to start seeing some tangible results over the next few weeks. We've got some favourable fixtures coming up: Southampton, Wolves, Everton, all in the next sort of 6-7 games. And the Dortmund Champions League game's massive as well. If we can get through that, I think that'll be a massive boost to everyone at the club as well. But Alex, thanks for joining as always, mate. You were at the stadium yesterday. What were your thoughts on it? I mean, ultimately 2 more dropped points, but particularly that first half, first 25, 30 minutes, we were dominant. And some of the link-up play of the new players and the attackers, it was really promising.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can all agree with the starting lineup. I know Lewis was happy about it. I was quite happy. Some positive changes. It was good to see Loftus-Cheek playing alongside Fernandez. It's something potentially we could see more of. I think Loftus-Cheek had a good game. But the positives are there, but the negatives are still obvious. I mean, when we look at Cucurella, it was just that was the reason we conceded the goal, and they were targeting him throughout the game. And why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? I mean, he's not really causing problems up front. He's not defending on the front foot. Everything about our back line, including the keeper, has been positive this season overall. I actually realised how good Kepa's been until I saw his stats the other day. Over an 80% save percentage. You cannot criticise that. And Thiago Silva speaks for himself. Reece James, we know how good he is. And Badiashile settled into the side so well. And defensively, that's shown. You said it yourself. The amount of clean sheets we've had since he's come in has been fantastic. But Cucurella, it's really, really difficult to defend him. And after the game, we went to we went away after him, and I got shown some tweets from Mudryk, and there's a part of me that thinks it's funny, and there's a part of me that thinks, God, there must be some unrest, because he's liking tweets which show sort of the stats of where Cucurella's passing the ball, and he's only passing the ball once or twice, and he's gone.
Yeah, we didn't get Mudryk in the game enough.
Oh, it's crazy. And I mean,
mate,
I didn't think had a great game, if I'm being brutally honest. But how can you if you don't receive the ball?
But this is the thing. Like, it was the same. I know obviously Mudryk was under the weather a bit against Fulham, but again, he was that same left-hand side that started against Fulham. And Cucurella doesn't give him the ball. I mean, Mount admittedly was taking up a lot of his space against Fulham, but Mudryk is hardly getting the ball. But when he does get the ball, he's one of our most dangerous players. And you can see what he's got: pace, direct, good feet, got an eye for a good pass. Let's just get this guy the ball a bit more. I mean, watching it at home, you can see that Reece James is always looking to feed Madueke, but You know, there was a number of times where Cucurella had an easy pass on to Mudryk or an opportunity to play the ball out to Mudryk. Instead, he'd rather go back or he'd rather go back inside and then they shift it over to the other side. I mean, I really don't know what's going on with him. Look, I'm still patient with him. You know, he's only come in the summer. He's clearly a good player, but he's just going through a really tough time at the moment. But at the same time, I think he could probably benefit from being taken out the side for a few weeks. Just get his head down, go back to basics. And kind of not overcomplicate things because he's not a bad footballer. He's clearly a good player, but at the moment, things aren't going well for him at Chelsea at all. But I mean, mate, what did you think of the boos that he received when he got subbed off eventually for Chilwell? I mean, I know fans are entitled to voice their opinions. I think we probably feel the same on this, that I'll never boo someone in a Chelsea shirt in terms of like, if they're having a tough time, you need to get behind them. There's a difference between saying that someone is not performing well and has to improve and should be out the side. Actively booing them, in my opinion, it doesn't help anyone. It just isn't helpful. And I don't care who it is. I would never boo any of them.
Yeah, I get it. I really get it because, I mean, I just speak from my experience. I went with a girl who's just joined the channel recently. She flew over from Denmark for this game, and
yeah.
You just want to see some half-decent football. And for the most part, but when you get let down by individual players week in, week out, I can understand the frustration. You know, we pay our money to go to these games. These football players make a lot of money. And that's the excuse people have, especially the match-going fans. You know, because actually when you go to the match, you see less than you would on the TV. So you've sort of have a restricted view. You don't get to see replays and all the rest of it and hear what the commentators have to say.
Especially at London Stadium as well. You can't see fuck all.
Yeah. So, I mean, when I look at Cucurella, I just think to myself, I do feel bad for the guy. You know, he seems like a nice guy. But unfortunately, nice guys don't always do well. And Graham Potter's learning the hard way that, you know, sometimes a fan just wants you to go out there and just have some character. I mean, even the selection of Cucurella, we can understand it because Chilwell's been out. But now that he's back into that squad, there's so much pressure on Potter to win these games, and you're going to win more games with Chilwell, even if he's not fully fit. You just will, because he offers you that variety, that creativity. He's not always going to do that side-footed pass to go up and get goal scoring positions, create, make things happen. I mean, he had a fantastic chance in the second half, and he didn't even shoot. But Cucurella would have never been in that position, full stop. So when we get Chilwell into a situation where he can play week in, week out, it's a no-brainer. Everyone knows that. Even Potter knows that. You know, he's not clueless. There's a reason he got to this level in the first place. But if he keeps having faith in players that are letting him down, you know, don't be surprised when the fans come calling and say that you need to get the sack, because that's the reality of these clubs. And we do talk about time. Me and you, we've backed Potter. We've said it's the players' fault. We've signed all these players in January. Now you do have better players. Don't get me wrong. Still not a fantastic squad, in my opinion.
No, it's not.
A lot of rotten pieces in the puzzle. But you have so much more to work with than you had. Bowley went out of his way. He spent 100 million on Mudryk, 100 million on Fernandez. All these players, Badie Ashiel. You know, these are guaranteed starters. These aren't bench warmers. These are superstar players. And you know, of course, they need time to integrate into the squad. But as a manager, it is your job to get the best out of the players. And when you have better players, you need to get better results. So this isn't rocket science. Potter needs to level up, because I think the same thing as you, Charlie. You can't keep backing someone who keeps letting us down. Signs of progression.
Yeah, I think that's the key thing. And for me as well, like, it does annoy me when people say, "Oh, how can we spend 600 million and still be getting shit results?" Well, first of all, the summer investment was nothing to do with this manager. And when you look at it, Koulibaly's been no good. He started reasonably well, but he's tailed off massively. Hardly played in recent weeks. Sterling's been injured a large amount of time and has done fuck all. Aubameyang's been an absolute disaster. Cucurella is really struggling. And then Fofana's played 180 minutes of Premier League football, and he cost £75 million. So you look at that, and that's like almost half the money that's been spent. And those players that were signed in the summer have hardly featured, or they've been useless. And then you go to the January signings. Okay, João Felix been fantastic. Enzo's been fantastic. So is Badia Shil. But then you look at Mudrik's played 3 games for Chelsea, 2 starts and 1 cameo at Anfield. This is a guy that's played no football since November because the Ukrainian league was paused. So you've got to get these minutes. You've got to build these minutes back up. These aren't excuses. These are just facts. And then you look at who else have we signed? You look at Madueke's just come in, been playing in the Eredivisie, young player, raw, good potential. I think he's exciting. I think there's a lot of ability there. Yes, he's still raw, but again, building his minutes up, getting him used to the league. So, like, these are all legitimate reasons as to why things aren't going well. But then I'm also fully aware that in the eyes of the fans and the people that pay their money to go and people that follow the club, that logic kind of goes out the window when you're not getting good results. But what does annoy me is when people would be happy to have a different manager in, say someone with a better CV, and yet if exactly the same thing was happening, it would be like, oh, it's fine because of their CV. Why is it fine if it's like a Pep or it's like a Jurgen Klopp or whatever it is, but then it's not fine if it's a Graham Potter? So yeah, I don't understand it. Oh, Alex is gone. He'll be back in a sec, hopefully. But yeah, I honestly don't get it because look, I understand that people are more willing to trust a manager who's got a better CV or who has managed at the top level more often. But people forget that every manager starts somewhere, and not every manager starts as a winner. You have to build your way up. Potter has taken the scenic route on his career: Swansea, Ostersund's, Brighton, and whatnot. And he's got his crack at a big job. And it's the same people that say, "Oh, Thomas Frank's a great manager," and whatnot. Thomas Frank's great. Eddie Howe's great. Yeah, these guys are great managers. But then these people are going, "Oh, yeah, Thomas Frank's a good manager." Thomas Frank gets a top job. Say he came to Chelsea, for example. The same people that 6 months ago saying he's a really good manager are then suddenly saying he's a shit manager because he's not getting the results at Chelsea. Graham Potter hasn't suddenly become a shit manager because he's not getting results at a big club. It's you can't just be like, you can't just pick everything. You can't just be like, oh, why have we not gone for a manager like this? And then a manager, say like a Thomas Frank comes in, great manager doing a great job at Brentford. Frank's job at Brentford, by the way, is on a par or just beneath what Potter was doing at Brighton anyway. So the same people that are saying that Thomas Frank's a really good manager and Potter's not, how is Potter not as good as Thomas Frank? The job that Potter did at Brighton is comparable or better than what Thomas Frank's doing at Brentford. Yet when Potter comes into a big job and he doesn't pick the results up instantly, suddenly he's a shit manager. Like I like that. I don't get that. I really don't. But I mean, I don't know what people want because it's totally unrealistic to expect new signings to come through the door. Guys that have played in Portugal, guys that have played in Ukraine, guys that have played in Holland, and then suddenly just expect everything to be fine at the first game. Everyone's going to gel together, and we're suddenly going to be an amazing team, and everything's going to be great. And also this idea that people think if a different manager comes in, oh, everything will be fine. Oh, let's sacrifice everything. Let's spend 300 million in January, sack someone 6 months into the project, but then we'll all be happy because we get a 3-game new manager bounce. We pretend everything's all right. And then the reality sets back in and we're having the same conversations about a different person sat in a dugout. Like, ultimately, until we get rid of our short-term mindsets, it's just going to be the same thing at Chelsea. And we will always just be a side that picks up a few cups and never challenges for the Premier League because you cannot win the league chopping and changing managers like every year. It's such a tiresome conversation to be having. Like when you see people saying, "Oh, who should we get in now?" It's like the geezer's been here for 6 months. Like 6 months. Like football's changed now. Like gone are the days where you can bring a manager in and they can instantly win the Premier League. When Jose come back in 15 or whatever, and we had that amazing season, the foundations were so different. That squad was ready to win now. Mate, this squad is nowhere near ready to win. And I think that's the big difference that people are overlooking. I mean, where do you stand on a manager, mate? Because I know that, we're perhaps too of a more lenient set of fans. I mean, it always makes me laugh after Stamford Bridge when we're doing the fan cams and you get the people that are leaving the ground and like, they're all I don't know if they're doing it for a wind up or whatever they're doing, but Like you get so many Potter outs when we're waiting around at the end of the game. But I mean, we fully aware that there's got to be actually something to back, and there's got to be signs of progress. But I'm looking at it, and I'm kind of judging it from now, as in judging it from the Palace game forwards, because this is the first time that he's got his players in that are being signed. And if you actually look at the games from the Palace game, all right, beat Palace 1-0, scrappy, but we needed the points on the board. That's a win. Okay, we go to Anfield, 0-0. Easily could have won that match. Yes, Liverpool are shit, but so are we. And a point at Anfield in any given season is a good point. Fulham at home on the Friday night, a point, not great, but we didn't lose, and it was another clean sheet. And Fulham are a very good side this season at the moment. Yes, we should be beating them, but look at some of the draws we had under Thomas Tuchel at home against like Everton reserves and Burnley and all those shit teams. So I think that's not a terrible result. And then we had the draw yesterday where you get the penalty, and that's an opportunity to win the game, and then it's kind of a totally different feel around the situation. So it is fine margins, but I mean, where do you stand with the manager? Are you still like supporting him? Are you still kind of fully buying into what he's doing, or do you, like me, you'll stick by him, but you need to start seeing some signs of something to back pretty soon?
The way I see it is, when we sack him, if we're in Potter's shoes, what excuses can we make, right? And there are still a lot of things he's had that other managers wouldn't have: the back in, the transfers, great infrastructure now in terms of sporting directors, the way that's all been set up. This is all recent. This is all something that's come together very, very quickly, and everything needs to gel. We knew that Potter was not a manager that changes things straight away. We know that. It's been the story of his whole career, bringing Östersund up in the Swedish divisions. He was there for 7 years. Swansea was a short appointment, but it's probably a little bit different in the Championship. When it comes to the Premier League, with Brighton, takes over a poor Brighton side, which played pretty average, basic long ball football. Because they don't spend, so it's understandable why you play that brand. But he is the modern day manager. He is the definition of a modern day manager. Progressive play, new ideas on a way to play football. The beauty about playing great football is sometimes it doesn't look great, but when it finally clicks, it all comes together properly. When you play a certain style, we just spoke about Mourinho earlier on, how he won the league. You can afford to set teams up defensively and do that the odd game. But are you really building a foundation of a team that's going to dominate week in, week out? Not really. And this is where I do think Potter's great. And I think that his style is unique. And I would go back to Maurizio Sarri for another manager with that same sort of unique.
I think he should have had more time, by the way.
Brand. Yeah, I think so. Absolutely. I mean, and I understand why fans didn't like him, but the style of football, we knew what we were going to get, and he did that, and we just needed to improve on that with players more suited to that style. Potter is exactly the same. Now, Tuchel liked to be compact. He liked to have possession football, but there wasn't actually an awful lot of width in Tuchel's teams. I mean, when I say that, I'm talking about the midfields, the wingers. We had
all came from the wing backs. All came from the wing backs. Exactly. The front line was so narrow.
But yeah, we weren't really stretching teams that much. And that's why when we played against low blocks, we struggled. Potter is the complete opposite. He really has an awful lot of width. He tries to pin those wingers right on the edge of the lines to stretch teams. And this is why it can look very slow, because actually it's a lot harder for that midfield to play around, because you're not passing to a guy 2 meters away. You're passing to a guy 5-10 meters away. And it just takes more skill. I mean, it's obvious. Fernandez has come in and done well because he suits, he's able to play that style of football. Jorginho was never, ever cut out to play that style. So it was a good decision for him to go. The same with Kovacic, in my opinion. I don't think Kovacic suits the way Potter wants to play. He likes to dribble on the inside. He can counter well, but we don't want to counter. We want to dominate. We want to create. We want to open teams up. This is not the profile of player that Potter wants to work with. But it's not saying these are bad players. They're just different. And you name each player and each establishment, each manager, ownership, whatever, who bought them, you could probably name about 4 or 5 managers. So
Yeah.
this is the situation where we need to say, right, first thing, you need a pre-season. That's the first thing. You need a pre-season. How can you really implement your style? When you've got a couple
When you're playing 3 times a week.
Yeah, when you come in, you play against Fulham, you play against Milan, you're off to the San Siro. I mean, it's so tough, and Potter's never experienced that, not at this level. Okay, playing the Europa League, but it's a little bit different. I mean, so I think you need to cut him some slack in that sense. But what we do want to see is a bit of character, for God's sake. I mean, one of the things that annoyed me at West Ham was right towards the end of the game. I can't remember exactly what the play was, but I remember Potter pointing to the dugout and he was saying to Bruno, one of his assistants, he was like, come over here. And Bruno runs over. And I'm just looking, I'm like, Potter, are you asking him to tell you what to do? Are you in control here? Because that's what it looks like. It doesn't look like a man who's in control, regardless of what it actually is. This is where, also people need to think, whatever he says in the press conference, okay. But if he says something completely different in private,
that's the most important thing for me, is because it's amazing how many people are pretending to know what he says at the training ground and what he says to the players and what goes on there at a daily basis, as if they like listening to the conversations. They know exactly what he's saying. Look, I know you want. For me, I look at it and I think, yes, you know what? Sometimes you do want a manager to come out with a bit of bite, a bit of spark, but because I also think that a lot of fans want a manager to, replicate their frustrations, and when they don't see that, they get pissed off about it. But what people also don't understand is that everyone's different. Not everyone's going to come out and be like a Jose, be like a Tuchel or a Conte, and speak in that way and be divisive and be someone that deliver box office press conferences, box office interviews. Potter's not that guy. He's much more calm, much more measured approach, and that's something different. We've never employed a manager like Graham Potter before. And I think a lot of people are struggling to understand that this Chelsea's different now. This is not, we're not owned by Roman anymore. Thanks, Roman. We massively appreciate everything you've done for the club. We appreciate you picking Todd Boehly and Clear Lake to take us forward into this new regime. But Chelsea, you can't operate like Chelsea have done for the last 20 years anymore. I don't think you can do that. Yes, there was a phenomenal amount of success, but we made business in the transfer market terrible, really, over the last few years. Dog shit, really poor. Just everything, just not great. All geared towards short-term results, and then when you don't get that, every time you sack a manager, you're starting again. No wonder we weren't getting anywhere, because someone comes in, 18 months max of ideas, right? The first sign of something going wrong, we need to get rid of the manager. And then new manager comes in, different players. And you just end up having 3 or 4 managers worth of players in a squad. And then you just keep changing that every 18 months to 2 years if you're lucky. And then you moan that we've not made any fucking progress. Well, of course we haven't, because we're not allowing any progress to be made. There's people that go, we need a process, we need a long-term project. And yet it's those same people that are calling for the manager to be sacked that are then moaning that we've got no project. Well, what do you want? You either believe what the club are doing or you don't believe what the club are doing. So you either back it or you don't. So if you don't believe in what the club are doing, that's fine and that's your opinion. But, I'm not saying you have to love Graham Potter. You don't. But just give the guy a chance, How can you honestly sit there and say that he's had a fair crack at things and he's had a fair chance at the job and he's failed and it's time to get someone new in after 6 months? It is impossible to come to that conclusion after 6 months with the situation that he's been in, with the new players coming in, being parachuted into a mess, playing the World Cup, playing fixtures every 3 days, no time to get stuff on the training pitch. And then people go, oh yeah, but he had 6 weeks of the players at the World Cup. Mate, half these fucking players in that training camp when we had the World Cup, they weren't even the first. Half of them don't even play in the first team. So you can't use that as a stick to beat him with. So I just think he 100% needs improvement. Of course, needs better results. But to pretend that this guy has had a fair crack at things and we need to make a change and it'll make everything better, it's just utter nonsense.
Yeah, you're right. And you know what's crazy as well is people knew it was going to be a difficult season. We knew this. Now,
even with Tuchel, we knew top 4 would be a struggle.
Oh no, we wouldn't have got top four with Tuchel. We wouldn't. But also we don't know, how much money we would have spent in January. All these other different things, because maybe I think we would have got better results than we have. I do think that because we still have that same identity. It's not a complete rebuild. Everything on the pitch hopefully still has its similarities, but we've changed everything. We've changed everything. And the club has changed, and not unfortunately, just the reality is the fans need to change. You need to change your perception. You need to change your expectation. I'm not saying drop your expectation. I'm saying be realistic, right? I know we can win. We spend a lot of money, but that doesn't mean we're entitled to win because we've spent it, right? You can still spend. I mean, for all we know, Madrid could be a flop. Fernandez could be a disaster.
All these signings, by the way, are not going to work out. Statistically, all these players won't be a success. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, and on top of that, not all of them are going to stay fit either. So, you're not always going to have the pick, the pick of the best players because Reece James, Ben Chilwell, these are injury-prone players that we already have, and then you've got Fofana coming in. You've got the same problems. There's just tons of issues, but I can't say Potter out. I just can't do it. And it's not because I love the guy. Right? I'm not a Brighton fan. It is what it is. But he was the best man to take over after Tuchel, right? I think we can all agree.
Yeah, we couldn't have had Pochettino, or Zidane would never have taken it. Zidane doesn't even speak fucking English.
No, but there's a reason Zidane doesn't want to come, and this has been the same for years. It's because he doesn't want to risk his reputation. Why would
This
you?
is the thing. Like, why would you come? This is it. Why would you come and manage Chelsea if you know that possibly in a year, less than a year, you could be sacked and out of job? Because and do you know what's annoying, right? Is that any manager that's in the dugout is going to go through a bad spell of results, a bad run of form. So we're saying that as soon as we hit a bad run of form, the manager has to go. Like, that's such a warped. It's such a warped way of thinking. Like, imagine City have lost a few games recently. If that was Chelsea, you'd have people calling for Pep to be sacked.
Oh, mate.
It's madness. And I understand people saying that if someone's got a CV that's kind of backs up what they've done, then you'd be a bit more patient with it. Whereas if someone's come in and they haven't got trophies on the CV, then they don't deserve the time. I kind of understand that you might give someone more time because their CV has shown that things can work. But then Potter's CV has also shown that despite it not having the trophies on it, it has shown that if he's given time, he can make good football teams. And people don't understand that, people associate with success is so black and white. Trophies, or if you win trophies, you're successful. If you don't win trophies, you've not been a success. Potter was a phenomenal success at Brighton, by the way. Outstanding football, such a well-run club, scouting, recruitment, everything. You look at how it is now. De Zerbi's come over. He's moving it on a little bit. All the foundations are there, and they were laid by Potter and the structure that was in place during his time there. So you cannot tell me that Graham Potter's not a successful manager because he doesn't have trophies in the cabinet. He's not been at clubs that have enabled him to win trophies so far. So now that he's got a chance, he needs to be given a chance. So you can't sit here and tell me that Graham Potter's not a good manager because you only have to look at what he's done at Brighton and the way that he's built that team and everything about the way the club's run. One of the best run clubs in the league. So you can't sit here and tell me that he's not a good manager because he is. But like in so many top positions at Chelsea, whether it's the manager, whether it's the boardroom level, where it's the new structure that's come in, it's not helped us at all that everyone in the senior positions is learning on the job. That's not easy when everyone's new in those positions. And there's going to be some teething issues and it's going to take time. But I mean, mate, how important, throwing it forward, how important is this week coming up, do you feel? First against Dortmund on Wednesday night, and then obviously Southampton at home at the weekend. Realistically, I'm not saying we have to win in Dortmund. We need a positive result there to keep us in the first leg. Southampton is must win at the weekend. I know that sounds ridiculous. They're down the bottom. They've just sacked their manager. And to be worried about whether or not we can beat Southampton at home is kind of a sign of the times. But honestly think, mate, if we don't beat Southampton next weekend and there's a negative result in Dortmund, there could be a swathe more people turning against the gaffer.
If we don't beat Dortmund, then I think Potter's in trouble. I do. I don't want him to be in trouble, but I think he is, because that is his only lifeline. Doing well in the Champions League, you don't even have to win the competition. I say it like it's easy. It's not, but just get a run of games, show us some good football, show us that we can go out to Germany, go out to one of the best atmospheres, most intimidating atmospheres in world football, and play with character. We know this team isn't a title-winning team, but are they a team that we can get behind for the future? So we just need to see signs of that. And Dortmund, I don't even think they're in the Champions League positions in Germany at this moment in time. So it's there for the taking, honestly. You know, Potter in the Champions League has had some really, really
unbeaten
lucky runs. I mean, when we played Milan both times, we should have beaten them. They had so many players out, but it's still great for confidence. It's great for morale, and it covers a lot of the cracks. And sometimes that's what you need as a manager. You need a bit of luck. And I think Dortmund is a great draw for us. I think it's a really good draw, especially for match-going fans. You know, it's going to be a great atmosphere. But going back to the team, we just need to produce something. I don't even think we need to see good football. We just need a result.
Oh, no, just results. I don't care about performances. Don't care. Just get the results.
Exactly. We get a performance against Dortmund. No one cares about Southampton. All right. We're not going to win the Premier League. All right. If we lose 3 more games in the Prem, it's not going to change our season. We're still a mid-table team at the moment. Like, it is what it is. It is what it is. And also from a financial point of view, at least you can get some revenue from those games. And, you know, it's a great experience for him as well, because if he does ride out this period and we are in major competitions in the coming seasons, you want to gain that experience now rather than later down the line. You want to learn how to deal with the pressures of playing midweek games and then having to play on the weekend as well, which we've already seen. But you know, it's year 1, isn't it? It's not even year 1. I mean, you don't have a preseason. This is why I struggle to criticize them as much. But just because, I just want to go back to that as well. We spoke the other day, Charlie. Just because we don't want him out does not mean we can't criticize. This is
of course.
Thing. You know, we can go out there and we can go to a game and say, you know, that was absolutely rubbish. And it was, like Fulham. I remember.
Oh, yeah, it was bad.
It was terrible. I mean, Enzo Fernandez was one of the few positives from that game. I thought he had a fantastic game.
Yeah, considering one training session, it was outstanding. Yeah.
And, you know, in terms of the performance as well, I thought it was absolutely diabolical. And I was looking at Pont and I was thinking, for God's sake, I mean, it's frustrating. It's frustrating. So don't think, you know, for everyone in the comments saying, you know, oh, well, you love Potter, and it's not like that. It's not like that. You know, we can criticize poor managerial performances, and West Ham was one of them. That was poor.
I have to say, mate, subs yesterday were dog shit from him. They were. I'm not saying that, you know, there was like an array of options on the bench, but I looked at it and I felt wrong players went off, and it kind of struck me as like subs that I'm happy to take a point. You're going from a Havertz, Madueke, and Mudryk front line, and you then suddenly you've got Havertz, Mount, and Ziyech as the front line. That doesn't scream to me trying to go and get a win. That screams to me as like, yeah, I'm happy for a point here. And you know, that was poor. And but going back to your point that you make, is an absolutely a fair one. You can very much be in Potter in, but still be critical of some of the things that he does. Like, you don't like being Potter in doesn't mean that you agree or think everything he's done is fantastic and he can't do a single thing wrong. He is, and I do criticize him. We do criticize him when things don't go right, and when he doesn't, and when he makes mistakes. So there is a difference there. You don't have to be like Potter in and agree with everything, or think he's doing a fantastic job. I think he's doing a good job in a very difficult set of circumstances right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's managers that could be doing a lot worse. We just don't know.
I mean, for people that say, like, you know, they're Potter out, I don't see anyone providing an alternative, and I don't see anyone like saying what they think would be happening if someone else was in charge. Like, are people genuinely like that deluded that they think if someone else comes in, everything's fine and the only problem here is the manager? because it's clear as day that the manager's not the problem here. Maybe, part of the problem, you could say, but there's so many things. Yeah,
every manager's got a problem. I mean, I was lucky. We went to Five Guys after the game yesterday, and we bumped into West Ham Fan TV, and I asked them about Moyes, and they
don't like Moyes. They don't like him.
Go. But I think on the other side, I think Moyes is a great manager. I really do, and it's the same with Jesse Marsh at Leeds. I don't get it. I thought he was doing a fantastic job. I generally did. No, I'm not even taking the mickey. So it's not just us that are going through these problems. Every club has these issues with managers. It's just a case of perspective and confidence and I can't remember the other one. Perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one.
Another manager's going to come in and we're going to have completely different issues, like he's too aggressive or, he's too opinionated. We're just on one side of the spectrum. So
yeah, you're never going to please everyone. There's always, whoever's in the dugout, there's always going to be people that just don't like that person and will always look to kind of pick at them or use the slightest things against them. But I mean, this point from Chelsea Blue here, like particularly in the last, look, we're unbeaten in the last 4 games. And look, it's not like we shouldn't be celebrating this as like some unbelievable success, but I think it's a sign of some slow progress being made that, yes, we've not scored. We've scored twice in the last 4 games. That's not good enough. But we've also kept 3 clean sheets, and there are some signs of progress. I mean, you look at the last few games and you think Palace, we win. Liverpool, we could have won that game. Fulham, like Havertz, if he didn't mess those chances up, we could have won that game. And then West Ham, we had an opportunity, if the officials were competent, we had an opportunity to potentially win that game as well. And you look at these fine margins and you're thinking, well, if Havertz could finish and if the referees actually did their job properly, that's 3 wins in the last 4 potentially. And it's suddenly a very different conversation. So I don't actually think things are as bad as people are making them out to be. Like we aren't far away. You look at the last 4 games, as I said, and you could easily see like two of those last 3 draws we've had could have easily won those games. It's not like we're getting outplayed every week and it's a disaster. We are getting close.
Yeah. I mean, listen, to take 2 steps forward, sometimes you have to take 1 step back. And entertaining football doesn't always start off in that way. This is why managers need time. This is exactly why.
Well, I mean, Pep's first season, City come 4th and won, and they didn't win anything. And that squad was a million miles ahead of the squad that Potter's inherited.
Yeah, and it's a great point. I mean, and the reality is, as much as Potter, we still need better players than we've got. We still do. If we look at the left back position, that's not going to challenge up top. The midfield, we need, Kante's injured half of the season. You've probably got Mount who's going to get sold. It looks like, and we can criticize Mount as much as we want, but
didn't even play. Barely played yesterday. Played what, 15 minutes or something, 20 minutes. He didn't do anything. Yeah,
we were worse when he played. So, and he's supposed to be our best player, one of our best players. So, if that's a situation where we need more players, and it sounds terrible, like you spent all this money already, but it is going to take another $500 million to get where we need to go.
It just goes back. It just highlights actually how bad the squad was. Like I don't think a lot of us realised. I think people knew that it needed reinvesting in it, but I don't think people understood the scale of the reinvestment that was needed in the squad. Mate, the squad has virtually been torn up, and it's almost a completely new squad, which it's mad. And I think, you look back to Porto and winning that Champions League, I was delighted. But I said many times on here that Champions League win in the long run is going to do us more harm than it is good, because it's going to allow people to think that this squad is actually better than it is. And it's been proven exactly right that, that Champions League win papered over severe cracks in the squad. And the squad has not been good enough for a long time. We just managed to somehow put together a run of games in the Champions League that saw players reach levels that they've not reached since, and it kind of all came together for us. But that that run wasn't representative of how good this team is. We just happened to put a good run together.
Yeah.
But it is a tricky. Let's talk positives briefly of yesterday, because there's been a fair few negatives. João Felix, we were at the cottage. He was fantastic there. Obviously sent off. We didn't see him for a month. He was back. He was back yesterday. Mate, the guy's good. The guy's class. Like he's a. I don't know. I'm not sure what it is to me. I don't know if it's this guy's so good or what we've seen is so shit. I think it's probably a mixture of. I think it's a mixture of both. He is really good, but also we've been starved of good footballers at the top end of the pitch this season.
Crazy.
So.
It's crazy to say that. How have we been starved of good footballers? I mean, yeah, we've been going downhill for 7 years league-wise, but yeah, the only way you're going to get consistent results is to have consistently good players. He looks like a player who can just turn it on, and that's what you want.
Good.
He's a game changer.
No adaptation period needed.
No, and when you're a top player, you don't need to adapt because you fit into any team. And the reality is you can work on all these movements, all these patterns of play. When you got the ball in front of you and you've got a goal, you need to score. And that's what he did. And it was a great pass from Fernandez as well. You can see there's link up. I also read after that, Declan Rice was talking about João Felix, and he had nothing but positive things to say. And he hit the nail on the head. He's a top player after 20 minutes. You can just see it.
You just know.
The way he moves, the way he conducts himself on the ball. I don't know if we're going to be paying over the odds for him because he's just signed a new 5-year deal at Atletico, and it's just a weird scenario because Bowley, from what I'm hearing, Bowley's confident that if Felix wants to come to
Chelsea are happy, think they won't have a problem signing him permanently.
Yeah, but we could be ripped off again. I mean, I don't know what is a rip-off as well. I mean, the thing is, they paid so much for him; they want to get that money back.
They paid over 100 million for him.
We're not going to pay over 100 million for him. No, surely not. I mean, for me, I'm looking at 80 million.
Yeah, 80 million. Yeah, 80 million. I think if they say you can have him for 80, I'm taking that all day.
If you're Atletico, you're going to do that. I don't see why. Why would they do that when they've just tied him to a new deal?
It's kind of annoying because you're almost you sort of wish that there was a buy option in this loan because he's done so. I know it's 2 games, but I think as you said, with certain players, you can just tell that they're good. Yeah. And I can tell from what we've seen of him for 2 and a bit games, for 1 and a bit games, that this guy's good and he's going to do really well for us.
It just looks like sloppy business from Bowley. I mean, it does look quite sloppy. I mean, why wouldn't you at least push for that clause? I know, obviously, we were desperate to have him. We paid over the odds for the loan anyway, but isn't that more reason to at least put that option in there? Just give yourself that option.
I don't know.
He's not going to come. If João Felix wants to stay in Madrid, that's his decision because we still have to agree contract terms with him, regardless of what Atletico think. So it doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, it's relaxed, and that's great to be relaxed, but we're trying to claw our way back up, and I just think that the small things make a big difference. And if this comes back to bite us in the foot, and we end up spending 120 million on him, that doesn't look like good business to me.
No, I'm a massive fan of his. Just the way that his movement, the way that he glides, the way that he plays through the lines. He's got an eye for a pass. He's an intelligent footballer, someone that can actually finish. It's just it's a breath of fresh air. Someone that can actually put the ball in the net. I mean, these are basics of football, and yet we're feeling so happy that we've actually got someone that is doing what they're supposed to do on the football pitch. It's mad. We've been starved for so long. But yeah, he was a massive plus. Obviously, Enzo Fernandez again, a class above in that midfield. This guy's going to be a special player for us, I think. Looks really good. What did you make of Havertz yesterday? Because I thought he was shit, but not as shit as he has been in recent weeks. He wasn't the reason that we didn't win yesterday. In fairness to him, actually took the finish well. That was just marginally offside. I couldn't believe it was him at first when it sort of saw that finish. But look, for me, I think I seen a stat yesterday. It's 6 goals in 29 appearances this season. and most of those have been playing as a number 9. That isn't good enough. I don't care. That's not good enough. And I think we're at a situation with Havertz that every week he plays as that number 9, it becomes more and more apparent that he is not a viable solution to play there.
Yeah, but then you say, why don't you play him as a 10? And I say
because Felix is way better than him.
Yeah, that's what I say, because he's not very good. So you have to fit him in how you can. One of the things I'll always respect about Havertz and always have respected is his work rate. I think he's got a fantastic work rate. I never understand people that say he doesn't put an effort in.
No, he does get about, but I mean,
he does.
But that's a basic requirement, though, isn't it?
No, Johnny. But no, I agree with that. I
Yeah.
agree with that. But it is a basic requirement. But if you do the basics well, that's exactly what you want.
Yeah, for sure.
Players who are in that team who don't run as much as Havertz, most of them actually.
Oh yeah, of course,
don't
yeah.
run as much as Havertz. So that's one thing he has on other players. We just lack quality and that potency in front of goal. I don't even see how you can fit him in as a number 10 anyway, because I don't see a creative spark. I know he did quite a nice pass. I think it was to Ben Chilwell in the second half.
Yeah, he doesn't strike me as someone that's got that. Like, doesn't strike me as someone that, for example, could play that ball like Enzo did for Felix. I couldn't imagine Havertz playing that.
Yeah, even in terms of getting into spaces and having to take a shot on nice and quick, which I think Gallagher is good at, and we should have got a penalty from.
Yeah,
I don't see that from Havertz either. We've tried him in so many positions. Let's not forget when Lampard first came in, he actually played him. I think he tried him as a winger, as a centre mid.
Yeah.
Because you can see it. He's not good enough at the final end. And
end product's not there. It's 3 years now as well. It's 3 years.
Yeah, you just read out the stats. 6 goals in 29 games is pathetic for a Chelsea striker. Morata scored more goals than that. Higuain scored more goals.
But then people still say, "Oh, this is not his position." How can we be having a conversation about a player that's been here 3 years? Oh, we don't know what his position is. Oh, if he plays here, he'll do well. Guys played off a striker. The guy's played as a striker. He's played as a wide man. Doesn't matter where he plays on the pitch. He's not delivering anything. And I seriously think, mate, honestly, if an offer of £50 million came in the summer, get rid. Seriously, I think, how many more chances can we keep giving this guy?
Well, there's going to come a point where his value's going to keep dropping. 50 million is a great deal.
Yeah, but that's already a 20 million plus drop in his fee from when he signed.
It doesn't even look like Bayern Munich are interested though, and I don't blame them. This is what I was saying. Why would you be interested? Unless you're going to go back to Bayern Leverkusen where you were balling out. I can't see why top clubs would want to sign him.
But I guess this is the problem though, isn't there? Is and I think Chelsea will probably find this as well. But I think the hope is that if these players on the long contracts don't work out, they're going to be at a young enough age where there is decent resale value there. But at the same time, I'm thinking Havertz, if he doesn't finish the season well, which it doesn't really look like, then we're going to struggle to get rid of this guy. Who's actually going to take him? Let's be honest. No top club in Real Madrid and Barcelona aren't taking him.
No chance.
And then you go to Italy, those clubs can't afford him. The Serie A they can't afford that kind of money for a transfers. And then you're thinking, well, where else does he go?
PSG.
Germany, PSG, but would they? But this is it. So we could have a situation where we might actually struggle to get rid of him. But I mean, just on the situation, I mean, mate, do you think that in the summer, do you think Chelsea need to go and buy a number 9? Do you think we still need one?
I think a lot of people were surprised we didn't buy anyone in January, especially the situation Juventus are in. Vlahovic is there for the taking. He's a big player, a strong player, a young player. He fits a lot of the credentials that I think Bowley and Clearlake would be looking at. So,
mate, would you like Ivan? Mate, I'd love Ivan Toney here. I know.
Yes.
Mate,
he was under the radar, Charlie, as well.
I know he's 20. I know he's going to be 27 in the summer, and it's perhaps a bit outside of the bracket that maybe Bowley and stuff are looking at. This guy's proven he can score goals in the Premier League in a Brentford side that are playing very well, but no disrespect to Brentford, haven't got the quality of player that Chelsea's got. Could you imagine the likes of Felix, Madueke, Mudryk etc. Enzo from deep, providing service for Tony. Mate, guy would score. I honestly think, mate, he'd be a 20-goal a season striker. I think he's that good. And for me, I look at it. I'm a fan of Vlahovic. I'm a massive fan of Victor Osimhen as well. But I do think that we need to realise that going for the big name is not always the best answer. I actually think we could be better off spending 50 or 60 million pounds on Ivan Toney than spending close to 100 million on the likes of Osimhen or Vlahovic. That's just my opinion. But I mean, do you think Toney would fit in well to this team?
No, if I'm being honest with you, because
no, don't think so.
No, I think he needs better players around him. I do. Because we're not going to be doing those long balls. That being said, I think he has the quality. So let's not take my argument and sound that I don't think he's good enough. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if he comes in this team right now, he won't score that many goals because we're not going to create enough. I still think that we need to gel more in every other element of the pitch for a striker to be scoring 20-25 goals. You know, even with Havertz, I mean, the chance he does get, he's not even getting 10 goals, Charlie. Do you see what I mean?
Mate, he's not a 10. Honestly, mate, Havertz could play every game in the Premier League. The most goals he'd get is 10. He's like, mate, he's about a 1 in 3 striker at best.
Yeah, and when Tony gets fed the ball, it's great, but I just haven't seen enough of the new players to say.
Yeah, this is the thing.
You know that he's going to get given those chances, especially before we sign those players. No chance. Tony wouldn't be able to score 10
well,
goals.
This is what I mean. People say, "Oh, we should have signed Haaland." Haaland's scoring fuck all goals in this team for the exact same reason because we don't create anything. So it's got to the point where at the moment it's irrelevant who's playing centre forward because we don't create anything. Hopefully now with the new players that are coming in, that will change. But people saying that we should have signed Haaland in the summer. Mate, Haaland would be lucky to be on 10 league goals for us right now.
Yeah, and you know, this is the thing. I mean, Aubameyang, even we talk about it now. I know there's mixed opinions. I think Aubameyang would do very well for clubs that create chances for him. He's very similar to Haaland. He's a poacher.
He puts the ball in the net.
And we are not a club that have really ever done well with that. I mean, it's the target man, the big target man. And Tony, to be fair, does fit that category because, you know, he holds the ball up well. But at the same time, we are switching our, I don't know what the word is, identity. We're switching our identity with Potter. We're not the physical team when you've got 5 players that are above 6'2", you know, going to win those aerial battles. We're turning into a more technically gifted side. And although that doesn't look like it, that's what we're going to be building, especially under Potter. We can see with Brighton, that's the type of players he wants to work with, your Trossards, your Cucureas, etc. So, yeah, in terms of a striker, I do agree with you, Charlie. I think Tony would be the best option if we can get him. Although we do need to pay attention to those betting allegations. I can't put. I don't know how many. I don't know how many he has against him.
Oh, mate, it's over 200.
Yeah. So the fact that they haven't solved that yet sort of makes me think. You know, we could be in a. It's like Man United with Greenwood. You know, it's just something the club can't control. But you've got these allegations sort of hanging about. It's not good. So I can understand if we didn't want to go for it for Tony for that reason.
I think that's the reason why clubs have held back on him. I honestly think, like, if he didn't have this betting stuff hanging over his head, I think there's potential that maybe us or someone else would have tried a bid in January for him.
Yeah. But there's good strikers out there, Charlie. And even when we talk about Victor Osimhen and other strikers, 100 million, you can get Vlahovic for the same price as Tony.
I think I reckon you could get Vlahovic for about 60 or 70 million.
Probably less, if I'm being honest. I think we could get it for less. I mean, it depends who's competing for that signature. I mean,
we know Arsenal were interested before he went to Juve, so maybe they might be backing from, although they got Jesus now. It's hard to tell, but you know, it certainly won't be a clear race.
Yeah, but I mean, we've been winning every race. We've been winning every race with Arsenal this season.
Well, mate, you know, when the boys turn up on the plane to the hotel where the negotiations are taking place, they don't leave till the players back on the plane. So once they turn up, mate, that like, you know, your players come into Stamford Bridge, whether you like it or not.
It's happening, and I think that's actually one other thing, just about having loads of owners. We can have 3-4 owners all working together. It's not like Abramovich, boss and people. They are all they all know what they have to do, and they're doing it very well. Bowley, he tried his hand at negotiating transfers. Didn't work out. Egbali's come in, he smashed it out of the park. Everyone we wanted, we got.
Yeah.
And these owners are learning how the world of football works. It's a very different world to the commercial world of the MLB and the NBA, all that stuff. So I think that they've done the right thing, just diving nose deep in. And let's be honest, we've probably been ripped off more than once, but now we know how the game works, and we are on the front foot. This is the most important thing, is that we are in control. We are in control. We are spending money, and we are taking those risks. As long as we're doing that, I really can't criticize the owners. Even with Potter, if you want to go on to another point, we spent like 80 million on him and his team. It's like you're just going to throw that investment out the window and then probably pay off another manager to come and do the same thing.
Mate, that's a fair point. 80, it's an investment of 20 million to get him in his start. I think it was 20 mil to get him plus an extra 2 million. Oh, it was maybe 18 mil to get him plus 2 million to get his staff. So I think it was either 20 or 22 mil to get him out of Brighton. A 5-year contract worth 2 mil a season, 12 mil a season, 60 mil. It's an 80 plus million pound investment in a manager. And then you spend over 200 million quid in January on players for this manager. And then you've then got people saying that they should sack the manager after doing that investment.
Makes no sense. Makes no sense, especially knowing it's a long-term investment. But this is why, we need to have that preseason. I mean, we've already had that conversation, but just going back with a striker, whoever we want, we'll get, Charlie. This is the
I think so as well. And do you know what the reality is, that actually, despite what I've been impressed to see, is that actually, despite where we are in the league, despite the fact we don't know what European football we're going to be playing next season, we've still been able to attract top quality players, and they don't know where they're going to be playing next season in terms of so I think you look at it and think we're still massive. We've still got a big pool. The project, I think, is huge. I mean, I'd love to see what that presentation is that they deliver to players or players' representatives on the project. Mate, I reckon once you've seen that, you'd do anything.
Half of the pitch is just the badge, Charlie. You don't even have the pitch. You see the name Chelsea Football Club, West London. You're centre of the world. Who doesn't want to live in London?
Yeah, I think the London lifestyle is a big pull. It is a massive pull. I don't think there's any denying it.
When you look at Newcastle, they need a lot of money to get players. Nobody wants to live up there. Anyone is going to pick Chelsea over Newcastle, and it's the same with a lot of London clubs. Arsenal obviously have that pulling power, but they don't have that big club status. They haven't won a European Cup. They haven't done what we've done in the past 20 years. So they're playing catch up. They're playing on the invincible season 20 odd years ago.
Yeah,
we have pull power. We will have pull power for the next 10 years. I just hope we don't do a Man United. Keep spending all that money and keep dropping lower and lower.
This is it. The project is looking great on paper, and the wheels are in motion now to get it going. But I suppose there is always a slight worry that you might think, well, how long is it going to be till we win a league title? Because the last one was 2017, and you look at it and you think, well, let's be if we're being realistic, we're probably not going to win the league next season. Next season, you're probably thinking, right, we need to be top 3, top 4 comfortably, and with some sort of domestic cup. And then you're looking at maybe 24-25 season, where is a realistic shot of challenging for the league. We could be bordering nearly 10 years of no league title potentially.
Yeah, and the time goes so quickly, mate. But it was a slow demise anyway. I mean, really, from 2015 anyway.
I think, to be honest, mate, from Conte, from when Conte left, mate, the demise kicked in terms of the league.
Yeah, and there was so much unrest within Conte during that second season anyway, because he was trying to drag us back to where we wanted to be, but they didn't have the same investment, and we weren't consistent in terms of the way we back managers. So I think as well, hopefully with Potter, but any manager that comes in during this tenure of Todd Bowley and Clearlake, if they know how they're going to be backed and there's that identity, that structure, knowing that they have time to implement their ideas, it's going to be a good club to work for, and the results should come with that as well. I think consistency from above will spread onto the pitch. So, unlike Man United, we do have owners that will pump money in on other things. We'll get a new stadium,
and we're debt free as well, which is a big plus.
I mean, I actually heard that we are looking at Craven Cottage when we do renovations.
What, to ground share?
Yes. So Wembley, I think, is 3 million a game.
Mate, I've got to be honest, but I wouldn't want to be going to Wembley on a fortnightly basis to watch Chelsea.
Fulham's only 1 million a game, so from a financial standpoint, it's kind of a no-brainer. But you've got like 20,000 less people. It's going to be an absolute nightmare to get tickets for any game. And on top of that, actually, just from our point of view, fan cams are just horrible in Fulham. So
it was shit, isn't it? Like that security geezer that was just moving us on. Like you can't stand it. It's just that was, to be honest, I'd be more up for it. I think they're keen to do a kind of a stand by stand renovation, a little bit similar to what Fulham are doing at the moment, to what Liverpool
have been doing as well.
Liverpool have been doing. I think that's the best way. Look, I mean, just briefly to round out. Do you think realistically we've got to stay at Stamford Bridge? I mean, I think in terms of sites to move to a new stadium, there's not many that are that close. I know, like in the years gone by, there was potential murmurings of Earl's Court. There've been murmurings of the old Battersea Power Station in years gone by. I think that site's gone now. I think it's a shopping centre or something. But Earl's Court, I can't see that happening. I think realistically it's going to be staying at Stamford Bridge, and it's just going to be expanding the stands there.
Yeah, well, whatever they want to do, they're going to have to stay at Stamford Bridge because of the Chelsea pitch owners. So
that's a unique situation for us, isn't it? They the pitch owners aren't going to sign off on a new stadium. No chance.
No chance. I mean, I've been to 2 or 3 of the pitch owners' sort of like events, and they are so strong. And Roman actually tried to buy out.
He did, didn't he? The pitch owners.
And that's when they all came together. They raised all this money. They pushed against it. There's no way that Bowley's going to try and do that, because I think he's more of a manager who wants to work with people, have those positive relationships, and work that way. But whatever we do is going to be at Stamford Bridge. I personally think if we really want to build a good stadium for the long term, we probably will have to relocate, similar to Tottenham.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think if we want to upgrade our stadium to like similar, let's be honest, like we're a massive football club, but in terms of like the big six or the top six stuff or whatever, mate, our stadium's shit compared to the likes of Newcastle, to the likes of Tottenham, Arsenal, United, Liverpool. It's like
I love the bridge, mate. I love it.
I love the bridge as well, but we've got to be honest. If we're gonna move forward as a football club, we do need a better stadium. I mean, or we need to increase the capacity, or just do something different.
It's the capacity. We're kind of like best of the rest, You've got all these clubs with nice big stadiums, Arsenal, Tottenham, and they're lovely. I've got to be honest. I've sat at Tottenham, I've sat at Arsenal. They are lovely stadiums, but the Bridge has got that X factor.
It's got a bit of feel about it. It is good. I mean, it could be worse. Thank God we didn't fucking go to the London Stadium or something, because it's just
London Stadium's terrible, man. I don't know how fans go to see that every game. In fact, you know what's crazy as well is when you sit down like on the halfway line. Me personally, I just find it very disengaging. I actually prefer to be behind the goal.
Yeah,
like we are at Matthew Harding or the Cox or whatever. Like it's just you can't see anything. You're just so far away. You've got a running track between you and the pitch. And then on top of that, you see rubbish football. It's hard enough to make an atmosphere as it is. I mean, we can't sort of really, if we're being honest.
Oh yeah, Stamford Bridge famous for its shit atmosphere.
Oh, yeah, it's not been great, but whatever they do, it's going to be in the best interest of the club. And people can say what they want, but the owners are doing all the right things at the moment, and I'm very happy with them. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, mate. I think like to conclude, I do think that the good times aren't going to be far away. We will. I think there's a clear plan to get us back to the top. And I do think we will be back competing and winning stuff definitely in the next year or two. And I think, do you know what? For me, it was going to feel so much better when we win again, having actually, if we do win with Potter, I think I'll feel like greater satisfaction than winning with anyone else, just because of how hard it's been. Like, look, I love winning regardless of who it is, but I think it will feel more special if we do win with Potter because he's an up and coming coach. He's a British manager. I just think it'll have a better feel around it.
Yeah. We fought so hard for this man, Charlie. So hopefully,
I'm dying on the Potter Hill with you. So like, it's gonna be like there could be a lot of apologies going out, or if he ends up getting sacked and it doesn't work out, a disaster. But if we do win under Potter, and I'm confident we will, then those people that have been battering the manager, I don't expect any of you guys to be celebrating when we win under him. I don't want to hear from you. I don't want to hear it. You know, if you can't be, mate, if you can't back the manager, if you can't support the team and the manager when the going's tough, don't celebrate when we're winning. Where were you when we needed you? Where were you? Hammering the manager every week, asking for him to be replaced. Don't then celebrate as if you were part of it and you was, you know, I don't want to hear it. So, you know, you either believe what the club are doing or you don't. And you know, if this manager does well, don't celebrate and jump on the bandwagon when you were vehemently against him. So I don't like that sort of two-facedness from fans. I have to say, I don't necessarily think it's from match-going fans. I think it's more from the online community. I do
because they don't know what it's like to go to games. This is frustrating, and I'm so glad we have a platform, Charlie, to be able to actually educate fans, because they do need education. Not all of them, obviously, but you have that select few that are just toxic, and there's no reason for it. Like when I see people DMing Mason Mount,
what are you doing? What are you doing?
It's like, come on, guys, are you really doing anything that's going to help the club? You think that's a positive impact? You know?
But do you know what's mad, right? Is that people say they love Chelsea and then they'd actively go out of their way to message one of the players that's come through the academy.
Terrible, mate.
Mate, what, mate? I'd love to know what the thought process is of waking up and thinking, like, I'm going to DM one of the players that I support, who plays for the team that I support. I'm going to tell them they're shit and they need to leave.
There is no thought process, unfortunately, and that's the problem. But you know, for the fans who do get it, you know, it's like what we said before: criticize as much as you want, but when you start getting personal, when you start really rubbing up people the wrong way, it's just not a good look for the club. And every club goes through it, but we just happen to be one of the big boys. So we've got more fans, more toxicity, and we just have to fight against it as much as we can. There's nothing wrong with being level-headed, but at the same time, you have to be realistic. And there's nothing wrong with being negative as long as there's a fine line. So, yeah, I mean, as long as we keep supporting the club, that's all you can do. That's all you can do, Charlie. And I don't know, man. It's depressing at the moment. Let's not act like it's any different. But we will be back on this stream one day, Charlie, and we will say, thank God we had patience, or thank God for that way.
Yeah, we'll keep the receipts. I'll clip it up, play it out. Where were you when we were shit? Where were you then? Yeah, rent-free, mate. Rent-free. Where were you when we were going down to Brighton getting smashed 4-1? Where were those? Where were you then? Don't celebrate our success with, you know, if you can't support us in the shit times. But yeah, seems like a good place to round out, guys. Thanks so much for getting involved in the chat. As always, make sure you smash the likes on the stream. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, because I'm desperate to get to 3K subscribers as quickly as possible. Not too far away. Need a few hundred more. So let's get moving on that one. So just click that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Make sure you follow Alex on Instagram as well. Linked in the description below. Loads of great Chelsea content on there. He's the go-to Chelsea guy on Instagram, so make sure you check him out for loads of great stuff on there. Also subscribe to Chelsea Fan TV whilst you're at it as well. Check out the fan cams from yesterday. You'll see plenty of myself on there, Alex on there as well. We're trying to grow that channel, so make sure you also check that one out. Guys, we'll be back. I'll be back Tuesday night, probably looking ahead to the Dortmund game, so make sure you tune in for that one. But yeah, guys, until then, take care, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and up the Chelsea.